Hi, Robyn.
Hi.
Well, you know me.
I know you.
I want to explain for everybody listening the purpose of what we're doing today and what I would like to get out of these conversations. So, what inspired me was that we are always seeing videos, podcasts about famous people. Um, and everybody wants to know what are the secrets that they have that got them to where they are. And my thought was, well, I want to hear from regular people who have just as much talent, grit, have done the work, but they didn't quite make it to the top. And that's okay. They found a way to make their life work for them. And I have Robyn Workman here with me. And I was inspired by her because she has a great story to tell about how she started out and became what she is today. So, welcome, Robyn.
Hi, Wendy. Thanks for having me here.
And I want to start by asking you to tell me a little bit about. So, Robyn is a musician, actress. She has studied voice and is a great singer, very accomplished, and she. It's okay if we have pauses.
Pauses are
And we have to
fine.
think about what our next words are going to be. And so I want to know what inspired you to become a performing artist.
Okay. Well, I started singing from a very young age. I mean, at 3 years old, I was performing for my family.
Okay.
I was Cher with a sheet on my head and doing the hair flip. I think every kid my age, and I'm not telling you what my age is, but I think we all did the hair flip, and I dream a genie. There, I'm giving you hints.
I used to love her too.
Yeah, I think we all, imitated the greats on TV, and there were a lot of variety shows when I was growing up on TV. So there was a lot of singers and performers that I could idolize or, imitate on TV when I was a kid. So I did. Barbara Streisand was, of course, my idol as a child, and I sang Funny Girl until there were grooves in the Funny Girl album that my parents had, and so I've been singing ever since I can remember. As a Girl Scout, performing in all the shows, as a kid in high school, performing in all the musicals. I started on piano as a young child at 7, and then as a teenager decided I wanted nails and I wasn't going to play piano anymore, and so I became a vocalist.
Okay.
I ended up going to CW Post LIU for a vocal performance degree, even though, as every parent, can't you get an education degree? And I went, no, I don't want to.
So they weren't creative, like did they?
My mom was a pianist, played Carnegie Hall.
Okay, wow.
Yes, my
Makes
mom
sense.
was a talented pianist.
Okay.
But as every parent, what are you going to do as backup?
Yeah.
What happens when you don't make it, as you said, when you don't reach that level of fame and fortune, which 9 out of 10 of us don't
I would
reach.
say even more than 9 out of 10.
Right. But as a young person, you can't tell somebody that you are going to make it, and there is no I'm not going to make it. And I had no interest in teaching at the time. You can't predict the future.
Right.
So I went ahead with my vocal performance degree, and it led me to a road of trying my best at Broadway, because that was always my true passion.
Okay, so how did you get from, before we get to the Broadway stuff, were there any inspirations in terms of teachers or colleagues that told you, you got to go for this, Robyn? You've got what it takes. I believe in you. I want you to graduate this program. Or maybe even before you decided to go to university, that really made you feel like this was worth giving it a shot.
My choral director in high school, actually, Mr. Pagano, I still call him Mr. Pagano, even though I think he's younger than my husband, if you want to know the truth. He was, when I was in middle school, or we used to call it junior high, he was my student teacher. And we were his first graduating class in high school. And he was a cool guy. And we did pop music. And we did, he later on became a very mastered choir director, actually. But he was always very into, I was never the soloist. I was never one of the favorites, but I always found music in him. I always stuck with anything that I did. And then in college, I had the best of the best teachers. They were not Broadway teachers. I was classically trained because back then, that's what it was to get a vocal degree. It was classical. You did not do Broadway. As a matter of fact, I had to beg to do a Broadway piece at my recital, and then it had to be Bernstein. Or Bernstein, as a nice Jewish girl. No,
Wow.
it had to be really almost on a classical edge to be able to do that. But Broadway was in my soul. Broadway was my passion, my love, and I remember a funny story. Well, it wasn't funny at the time. We were going on a tour with college, and I had gotten a Broadway callback. And I was like, no, I'm not going on the tour. I'm going on this callback. And my choral director said, you will be on the bus or you will lose your scholarship. And I said, okay, well, that's all right. And my mother said, no, you will be on the bus because you're not going to lose your scholarship to go to college. And I was devastated because I couldn't go on the Broadway callback. And who knows which way that would have gone. But I was raised where education came first. And there will be other possibilities for you down the road. Of course, I was not a happy person on that tour, as you could imagine, because I missed my Broadway callback.
How did your teachers take that?
They didn't care.
Really?
They did not care.
Even though you were so close
It
to
was
Broadway.
a commitment, and I learned there and then that when you commit to a project, it doesn't matter what comes after that project, you made a commitment. And I will tell you that in life is what I tell my students. Once you commit to a project, that is your commitment. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter what comes after that. Once you've committed to something, that is where your loyalties have to lie. And it's a great life lesson. I didn't feel that way at the time. I was quite a miserable person on that tour, but it is true. Once you commit to something, that is where your loyalties need to lie. You've made a commitment, and other people are counting on you. And although to this day, I don't know, maybe that would have been my leap into Broadway. I'll never know. But
I think we all have stories like that.
I think so.
You know, what would have happened had I made this decision?
But it wasn't my decision to make at the time.
Right. So in a way, it was easier for you because it was somebody else's decision. Right?
It was my mother and my choral director that were like, you will lose your scholarship, and that was just not an option to not be able to go back to school. So
how many more years of schooling did you have?
I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, cum laude, at CW Post, which then became Long Island University. And then I started hitting the Broadway cattle call scene. Came close.
Manhattan?
In Manhattan.
And did you live in the city as
No,
well?
I commuted back and forth because I had to work.
What did you do to make the...
Oh, what didn't I do? I worked as a cosmetologist it was easier back then. You didn't need a license to apply makeup in a drugstore. I worked in a drugstore. I was a receptionist in many a hair salon so that I could get my hair done for free. And then I finally settled into singing with wedding bands. Because
I'm still going back to those days.
Those early days.
When we graduate, obviously this type of profession is lifelong.
Yes.
So I would imagine that you were still taking lessons.
Yes.
And maybe you were going to acting classes or doing workshops.
Never
On
went
the
for
side.
acting lessons.
Okay.
Really focused on my vocals.
On your vocals.
Always
Okay.
focused on my vocals. Came really close. Had a manager.
Did you
at
get
the time.
one right away?
No.
How did that happen?
I fell into it actually,
Okay.
just from word of mouth and people who knew people. Had my headshots, had my resume. They were circulating. Met a very nice woman who was a friend of a friend of a friend who knew people.
Okay.
Became very close. Got into an audition at that time. Jules Stein was going to.
See, we're missing out this detail.
On this detail.
Just
Just a little
minor,
detail.
yeah.
Just a little detail. This
Okay.
was my close shot. I got an audition with Jules Stein, who wrote Funny Girl, who was going to bring back Funny Girl.
Okay.
And I walked into an audition where he played it. He played my audition.
Wow.
And I had to sing I'm the Greatest Star, which is from Funny Girl, which I've been singing since I'm 3.
Okay.
And his remark was, if I wanted Barbara, I would have called her. And I didn't know how to react to that.
What kind of an amazing compliment is that?
You would think so.
Yes.
It wasn't. It wasn't a compliment at all. It was, you sound too much like Streisand and you're not an original. Which I walked out going, what? No, I don't understand. And
was that a moment for you?
it was a very telling moment because all my life I thought, well, isn't that great? I sound like Streisand. Isn't that amazing?
Oh, so you had gotten this kind of feedback before?
No, that was the first time I got
time.
that feedback
Okay.
because in all the other cattle calls, I always thought, I'm a mover. I'm not a professional dancer.
Mhm.
I was always a good actress, always vocalist. Vocal was my thing, and I was always told you're a great belter. You've got the sounds.
Mhm.
So for somebody to tell me I sounded just like Streisand, here I am going, oh, great. And it wasn't great. It wasn't great. And so I walked out of there very much like, okay. But he set me up with a very fine vocal
So
teacher.
he did obviously see,
Something.
recognize that you had talent.
And
He didn't just say, okay, you can go now.
right. So I was like,
Alright.
okay. So he set me up with a very fine vocal teacher who also worked with Stephen Sondheim. So here I am going, okay, well, now I'm on the right track because
Yes.
Julie Stein and Stephen Sondheim. And
Yeah.
this was the time when Into the Woods was first coming
Mhm.
out. And, I was going to audition for that. And yet Bernadette Peters got that role.
I
So,
remember.
here I am amongst these golden
Greats.
people who
Yeah.
are much further along in their careers than I
Yeah.
was in mine. But I was losing out to these kind of people,
Yeah.
which gets very disheartening.
Yeah,
When
but
it's
at
like-
the same time, it's like that, on the one hand, it's obviously encouraging. You were probably younger than them,
Much
I'm
younger,
assuming.
yes.
Okay, so you still had a long way to go to get to that point. So the person, do you mind naming the person that you ended up studying with?
I was studying with Eric Stern,
Okay,
who was quite a big name, and I was,
Right.
As everybody says, schlepping into Manhattan to take these very expensive voice lessons.
And how often was that?
Weekly.
Weekly, okay.
And he was incredible to
Okay.
study with. I learned so much.
Right.
But after a while, when you're not getting the jobs,
Well, let me ask you this. Were you doing workshops, small, local, regional theater? What else?
No.
You were just focusing on Broadway.
I was.
Okay,
Because by then, I had gotten into a wedding band. So
I see.
as a young person, now I was more, okay, well, now I'm singing and I'm working a lot on my weekends, which was fabulous because now I really had the money to get into the city during the week and pay for my lessons and continue to audition. And I was singing on the weekends, which felt so much better to me because at least now I was singing for a living,
Yeah,
which felt so much better than working in a hair salon. It was like, oh, okay, well, I'm bringing joy to people.
and also rare, just
to find a job.
at that age, to be
I
working.
was in my early 20s.
Yeah, that's young.
And I was singing for a living, which felt like, okay, well, at least this is what I wanted to do. Maybe not at the height that I wanted to do it.
Right.
I had recorded a demo with Taylor Dane's brother, who was an agent.
Mhm. What kind of music was
It was pop music.
Okay.
We recorded a couple of demos. It went out to Clive Davis,
Wow.
right? And again, feedback. I don't need a white Whitney Houston.
Right.
Again, I was like, but I don't sound like Whitney
Right.
Houston. Yes, I had recorded one of her songs because at that time, these were the kind of songs that were hitting the radio. This is what I was told to record.
Mhm.
I didn't think I sounded anything like Whitney
Well,
Houston.
you probably didn't, but maybe there was some quality in there that reminded him of her, or maybe he wasn't looking for your type. You can't
Very
know for
possible. I also at that point was singing with a wedding band. And what do you do when you sing with a cover band? You cover these
sure.
songs.
True.
And your job becomes to sound as much like the performer as you can be. So again, I was like, you know what? I'm making a really good living at this wedding band thing.
Right.
I'm doing so well. I was able to move out of my mom's home.
Wow.
I was making a great living. I was in demand as a wedding singer.
How often were you performing?
Oh, every weekend, at least multiple
times
a weekend,
Okay.
3 to 4.
So this was really a profession.
This was
at
becoming my profession.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I don't think I need to be famous anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth schlepping into Manhattan and just hearing, no, because
Yeah.
after a while, as much as everybody tells you,
You gotta develop
don't
a
take
thick
that
skin.
thick skin,
Yeah.
after
It
a while,
does grate on you.
that
of
thick
course.
skin,
Yeah.
the callus wears down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you start thinking, what's wrong with me? And nowadays it's so easy to get contacts and change your eye color or bleach your hair and become a blonde. Back then, you couldn't get contacts for your eyes. It
Yeah.
wasn't so readily available.
Mhm.
You couldn't just bleach your hair out. It wasn't like you could do that at home. You had to go spend hundreds of dollars to change your hair and then your hair
Yeah.
fell out. And, it was a little different back in that time of life. So all of a sudden, every band wanted me.
Wow.
And I ended up with a really good band and I ended up in a steady job. And it was like, you know what? This is working.
And so, okay, were these other musicians? What kind of band was this? It was.
So I ended up staying with a band called Night Flight. All the band musicians were much older than me because, and it's probably still true today, you always want a young, cute singer. And back in those days, I was a young, cute singer. All the guys were at least 10 years older than I was. And they were a very busy band, a very good band. And we worked the entire tri-state area. And we were busy. We were a very busy band. I started my career with Hank Lane, which everybody knows. They were around, they were like Stephen Scott and all those big name bands.
Okay.
And then I got with Night Flight and I was their singer for a while. And I stayed in the band business till the early 90s when the DJs became really up and coming, and I was made an offer to become a singing MC. And I was one of the first female singing MCs, and what was nice about that is I was highlighted as a vocalist. I did dinner shows, so people just weren't talking while I was singing. I was literally highlighted. And honestly, the money was a lot better than the band singing.
Wow.
And I didn't have to stand on my feet for 4 hours just being background music anymore. So that was lovely.
So all this time, you didn't go back to audition.
Nope.
At any point, you were very busy,
Yes.
obviously. And I'm guessing you were enjoying this because
Loved
you were
it.
singing, and who cares where, as long as you're doing it. And to top it off, you're making money doing it,
Yep.
a living. Did you ever think back to, maybe I should go on an audition? Or did you ever see that, wow.
Never.
Okay, that's.
I kind of believe that God leads you down where you belong. And for whatever reasons, Broadway was not the path I was meant to be on. And I was happy. I was singing. I was making my living as a singer, which felt like maybe it wasn't the dream I had for myself originally,
Yeah.
but I was still singing and making a living at singing.
Yeah.
So therefore I accomplished my original dream
Right.
of being a professional vocalist.
Yeah.
And again,
And
not
I'm
at the
guessing the
heights.
stress level was not as high, right?
It
Or
could be. I mean, especially when doing maybe not so much at a corporate event, but at a wedding.
Mhm.
This is somebody's special
Yeah.
day. Singing at ceremonies was a lot of stress. Singing at a reception is a little different, other than singing their first song or their special song with their parent. But when I sang at ceremonies, that would stress me out because you're singing at somebody's vows. You know, this is the most special day of their life,
Right.
and you don't want to mess that up.
Yeah.
You just don't. You know, to me at least. I mean, maybe other people didn't take it as seriously, but I'm a horrible romantic. I'm very sentimental. So to me, you don't want to mess that up for somebody. It's the most special moment of their life.
Well, you're also the type of person who wants to do well no matter what you're doing, right?
Sure.
So you're going to have a certain amount of stress that you put on yourself regardless.
True.
Right?
True. And it's important, and you know, video lives on forever.
Yeah.
So, you know.
As does this one.
As well this one. But so for me, somebody's going to watch that 20 years down the road on their anniversary, and I wanted to still mean that to them, that, oh,
that's nice.
Do you remember that moment? I don't want them to be like, oh God, that was horrible. Why did we hire that person? I wanted to still have that moment for them.
Yeah.
So that was always important.
Okay.
And weddings can be stressful, and I always wanted the bride to know that she made the right decision, and the groom, of course, but we all know it's about the bride, that it meant that much, and I made it that much more special and memorable for them.
Okay.
So weddings to me were really important. And again, we did do corporate events, we did do Sweet 16s and other things, but to me, a wedding just, it's meaningful, it's important.
And one of the things that I know that us as performing artists don't like to do is get into the marketing of it all. Like having to, right? Was that part of your job with this band?
Not with Night Flight. Later on, when it became part of it.
So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But while you were doing what you love, making a living at it, you never had to sell yourself.
Not with the bands.
Wow.
Not with the bands. Okay. The bands were great. I just showed up to rehearsal, learned my music.
Right.
It was great.
Okay.
I loved being a band performer.
Because even today, I would say that most people don't have that luxury. Even if they have managers, they're going out on auditions, they still have to do a lot of the work themselves.
Sure.
Putting out videos, getting a web page, doing all this.
Back then it was different. We didn't have web pages.
Right.
We didn't have social media. Our band had agents, so it was up to the agent to do that. Not until I worked much later for agents that I became a salesperson, and of course when I had my own DJ company, then I had to do a lot more sales work. But in the very beginning, I was just a band singer.
All right, so this went on for how long?
My life as a singer?
A singer in the band.
In a band. I would say 10 years.
Wow, okay. And then at what point did you decide, now it's time to make my next move, and how did that happen?
Funny enough, we were out in a club after a gig, and a gentleman came up to me and said, how would you like to double your salary? I said, that always appeals to me. Okay. What are you talking about? And he said, I own a DJ company. And DJs had really just came on the scene, and they weren't really for weddings. They were more for like your bar mitzvahs, your bat mitzvahs, your sweet 16s. And he goes, no, I have a very elegant DJ company. And I was like, well, I'll meet you. I'll talk to you. And I did. And I liked his whole concept of me being a featured performer. You know, that always goes right to the ego.
Although you were with the band.
I was, but it was still, it's a band and you're a unit. And even though I was the MC, so to speak, but you're still part of the unit. And on your feet, in heels, for 5 hours. and this was, well, you're the MC, but I'll also be MCing. And when you're not singing, if you want to hang out behind the DJ booth and sit down, you can do that.
Okay.
And then at dinner time, you come out and what do you want to sing? Oh, what do I want to sing? You mean I don't have to sing all the pop stuff that I hate singing that I have to
I
sing?
see.
Because, like, what if I don't want to sing Whitney Houston tonight? Oh, you don't have to. That's the pop music. You don't have to sing the pop music. What do you want to sing for dinner? Or maybe the bride wants me to sing her first dance because that means more. I was like, oh, how many songs a night do I have to sing?
Right.
7? I only have to sing 7 songs? And you're going to pay me double?
Wow.
Well, this sounds very interesting to me. And not that I didn't have to be there the whole night. Of course I had to be there the whole night. But I didn't have to perform the whole night.
Right.
It was a lot less work for me. I had a lot more time to just walk around the hall or meet other people or network with other people, which I really enjoyed doing. And that's when I started doing a lot more sales. I became a manager of that company. I started running that company for him. I was with him a long time. And then eventually from that, I went out on my own and had my own DJ company.
Okay.
So
And how was that?
owning my own company
Yeah.
was great. It was great. I got to make the rules. I got to decide how we were going to work, what was our image. And that lasted 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not realize that. So you were with the DJ before for how long?
5 years?
Okay.
About 5 years?
And he must have been disappointed that you decided to go out on your own?
Yeah, he wasn't thrilled. I'll leave it at that. He wasn't thrilled, but there were reasons. There were reasons for us to go out on our own. Enough said on that one. But going out on our own just gave us a lot more control over things that we needed to be in control of. You have to arrive early. I don't like getting places just on time. You have to leave time for something to go wrong. You have to leave time for that the other person didn't get out early enough. You know, when you're dealing with catering halls, a lot of things are not within your control. And I like to be ready for that kind of thing. You know, things can go wrong. Again, it's somebody's very special day. You have to prepare for that. When I started doing the finals with the brides and to know exactly what song do you want, what song would you like me to sing for you, you know, knowing that somebody else is in control of what I'm going to perform, because sometimes they would pick songs that I was like, are you kidding me? I can't do that. Or where are we getting the tracks for that? Because going way back in those early days, tracks were limited. Tracks were very limited, and there was only one place to get the tracks, which was a place out in Deer Park. They weren't, again, there was no internet to get these tracks. You had to go to a certain store in Deer Park to get those tracks, and if they weren't available in your key, that was an issue. You know, again, there wasn't, unless you had a key changer, which again was a special machine.
And it costs money to do all this.
And all that costs money. And so when I started sitting with the brides, I had my tracks. I knew what I could offer them. Or I could say, honestly, that's not going to sound so good. I think you should use the recording and make better choices along with the couples.
Okay, so you felt that you could be more help to your clients and give them more feedback in terms of what would work
Exactly.
for you to sing, for the music to play, and you did this for 30 years.
I did.
And at this time, was that when you met your husband?
I met my husband along the way.
Okay.
I met my husband along the way.
So
I
you just
met
decided-
my husband when I was 18 years old.
Oh, that's
So
okay.
he was with me along on this
So-
journey.
Did you always want to have a family?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so it seems as if you say that this kind of happened for you, which it did, but it also fit your goals in life.
Yeah.
Because even though you may have dreamed of being a Broadway star, right? Not easy to do if you're going to have a family.
Yeah.
You're always always traveling. One kid may be doable, but you're bringing them along with you.
Sure.
And that's not easy,
Right.
especially when they start school. So you kind of made it work where you could do it all.
True. I also married a musician.
Right.
You know, I
Who
married.
understood that need.
Right. So he was along with me on this journey. He did his thing. I did my thing. He came with me on some of these things when I had my own company as somebody who would set up, break down, which was great because it gave us more time to be together.
Mm-hmm.
He also became security a couple of times when he had to. So it worked for us. And then when we did have our daughter, he would stay home with her, you know, on the nights. So he worked a day job. I was around during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then weekends and nights when I had to go perform, he would stay with her. So it really did work out quite well
Awesome.
having a family.
Okay.
So it fit. It
All
worked.
right.
It
Wow.
worked.
Okay. So we get to, wow, I think I am envious of your career. It's really nice.
It was
to
a lot
hear
of
this.
work. It was a
Of
lot
course,
of work.
what isn't? But when you love what you're doing,
Yes.
it doesn't feel like it's work.
And that's
right?
when I stopped. I always said I would stop when I didn't love
Okay,
doing
so,
it and when I didn't get butterflies anymore, when singing at the jobs became very lackadaisical for me, when I didn't feel like I had to work at it anymore, I'd stop.
So this is a very important point because you're obviously a passionate person.
Yes.
About what you do. You followed what it was that you loved, which most people don't get to do,
True.
right? And now you're deciding, so what was it that lost it, that spark for you?
Well, the first thing was I missed my daughter's first dance recital when she was 3 or 2.
Okay.
And you know, back then they didn't have phone video or any of that.
They're so
And I
cute.
remember being at a gig and my mother was calling me, going, she's going on now. And I was like, and I'm missing it. And I was horrified that I missed it. And I said, I will never miss another one of her performances. And I didn't. And I haven't. And I realized that was so much more important to me than doing what I was doing. So I started slowing down. I was still running my business,
Right.
but I was picking and choosing what I was going to do much more carefully. Anything that it took me away from her performances, I no longer did. And then I started realizing I didn't want to do the weddings anymore. I definitely didn't want to do bar mitzvahs or sweet 16s. The DJ business is a young business. I felt like I was starting to age out. And nobody said it to me. I just felt it myself.
Okay.
And not that that's right for everybody. I have friends who are still performing and doing their thing. It wasn't right for me.
Okay.
I wasn't enjoying the scene anymore.
So what I find nice about this story so far, and I think that it's going to continue this way, is that every decision that you made along the way was a choice that Robyn
Yes.
made,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What was right for you at that time, and then you said, okay, let's go in a different direction. And so
Well-
how did you get from, it was a gradual progression?
I think when you have kids, at least this is how I feel,
You
they
had
come
one
first.
child.
I have one child
Okay.
who is also an actress and a performer and a
Mhm.
singer. I guess with two
Wonder
parents
where
as
that came
musicians,
from.
you know, you don't have much of a choice.
Yeah.
Kids come first.
Yeah.
And because I only had one, I was only going through those experiences one time. You know, there wasn't going to be a second time around to do this again. So get it right the first time. And not that I got it right all the time, because I don't think any parent gets it right all the time. There's no book. There's no manual that tells you this is how you do it.
No.
You know, sometimes I
And
wish
even
there
the
was.
no.
But there's no books that tell you this is
Yeah.
how you do it and you get it
Figure
right.
out
You
along
just
the way.
figure it out.
Yeah.
My mom used to say, we all F up our kids in our own way. That's for you, Mom. And it's true. But I had decided that, you know, as a parent, I wanted to be an active parent. And so I became a PTA mom. and I held positions on the local PTAs and on the regional PTA, and I even made it to state for half a second. And that all started to become more important to me. I had started becoming a vocal teacher.
Oh, okay.
I fell into that. That's a whole different story.
Right.
Even though I said I'd never teach, I did fall into that. I became a teacher's assistant in my daughter's elementary school, which I fell into. Things that just, when things go awry, my mom always said, throw it up to God and you'll find your answers. But keep your eyes open because they don't always appear in the way you think they're going to. And I find that's very true.
Yeah.
So opportunities came to me and I was like, oh, all right, we'll do this. And even when I was teaching in the school, my mother said, do you think you'll go back for an education degree? And I went, absolutely not. I don't like this. I don't like curriculum, and I like to wing it. When I teach, I wing it. Right. I go by the seat of my pants, and it just works for me.
Mm-hmm. You still have a technique that you
absolutely.
It's not like you go out there and everything is something you haven't done.
Well, you
before.
learn as you go.
Right.
I mean,
and then you also have to adjust to the student because
of course.
The person that comes in is not necessarily going to need the same thing as the
absolutely
person who came in before that.
Well, when I stopped,
a good teacher, as you are, because I study with you.
Yes, you do.
Is going to adjust whatever exercises you give to that student's
absolutely
needs, right?
Well, as I
just wanted to add one other thing before I forget, and that is that what I like about what I'm hearing is that when you are in a profession that is so difficult as it is as an artist, having that mindset of it shouldn't be so hard, right? And if it is hard, then maybe it's not meant to be. And maybe those things that happened to you along the way, which just kind of fell into place. It wasn't like you didn't work hard at what you were doing.
Oh,
you did. But the opportunities came to you in a way that you didn't expect and that you didn't have to fight so hard for, right?
They were there. The opportunities came out of things that, not that they weren't hardships. I mean, for instance, the teaching. I had, as a young singer, developed nodes on my chords, which, for those of you that don't know what nodes are, they're like little cysts on your vocal cords that could ruin your vocal.
Yeah.
That would have been the end of my singing. I was 25.
Oh,
I was devastated.
Okay.
and
what did you do?
I ended up meeting a speech therapist, Karen Sussman, that we both know, who is amazing.
Okay.
If she's listening, hey Karen. And through working with her, and it wasn't for my singing, it was my speech. I was talking way too low.
Ah, that's interesting.
It was incredible.
So it wasn't your singing that caused the nodules.
No, it was my
your
speaking.
And were you using it a lot?
I spoke constantly. I was an MC. I was a professional MC while I was doing these events.
Yeah, very interesting.
And she had worked with tons of people, actually teachers. One of the most big part of her practices were teachers, professional speakers, and I learned so much from her. She helped me avoid surgery, and I ended up working with her. Obviously, I couldn't see her patients, but I did become a vocal teacher for her.
Okay.
And I still use her technique because I think it's incredible. And learning the inside workings of your body helped me become a really good vocal teacher.
And you were able, so you don't have nodules anymore?
No.
So through therapy, with a speech therapist, you were able to cure yourself, which is pretty amazing.
It was amazing, but she's also a professional singer, and she worked with singers. So having somebody that knew about singing and was a professional speech therapist, the combination was just incredible.
What you needed
it was exactly what I needed, and she saved me. She really did, because the idea of surgery at that young age, all I could think of was my career is over.
And surgery at that time also was not guaranteed.
No, it was
today
not.
They have much more advanced techniques. They know exactly where their cutting, so to speak. But we all know the story about what happened with Julie Andrews.
Exactly.
I'm going to assume that she had the best doctors, and yet look what happened.
And she lost her voice. And at
Right.
least she lost it way later in her career. Had I lost my voice at 25, being a singer is not just what you do, it's who you are. And even though I don't sing as often, although I will be singing in concert November 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Come on down to Sparkle on Stage. Buy your tickets now. Yes, I'm not too proud to do that. I don't sing as often. At 25, I don't know what I would have done had I lost my singing voice. That was my whole life at the time. I learned how to teach from her, and I became a vocal teacher along with doing the wedding gigs, because honestly, I had nothing to do during the week at that time, and it was a great secondary course of income. It was also a backup to what are you going to do when you don't sing anymore? Well, what are you going to do? Well, now I'm a vocal teacher, and I still obviously teach vocal as you were my student. And then I fell into teaching beginner piano as well, because I took piano again in college, so I had piano background. So I became a vocal and piano teacher, which was a nice little source of income.
And something you also enjoyed and felt called to.
And I do. So as I kept doing the gigging and having my DJ company, I was also teaching during the week, because that really was just weekend work. Along the way, I worked in agencies, I worked in offices, and really procured this weekend work. But as my daughter got older, that kind of hit the wayside, and I really started working more with children. Then as my daughter was 8 years old, I guess, I got a call from the Freeport Recreation Center from a friend of mine. They wanted to start a drama program, and I was approached. Would I be interested? I was like, sure, why not? I was an actress. I like children. I can teach singing. I will start a drama program. And I did. And I still do it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, I still do it. We just moved the classes down to Sparkle on Stage because it's harder to teach there. At least in my space, we have a stage. But I've been doing it since I guess it's 19 years now, since my daughter's 27.
And what kind of program? It was for children?
It's a children's program. We were putting on plays. I also started doing acting classes. Very informal, very subliminal, very much getting children an introductory. What I found was I would get the children who are not the sports kids. It was great to teach them teamwork, because if you're not a sports kid, where do you learn teamwork? Where do you learn to play with other children in a setting? And then with the plays, it was the shy children, or the ones that didn't have the self-esteem that they needed to. Aside from the ones who were just natural actors and needed that outlet, we got a lot of the children who just flourished, and they still come back. I mean, a lot of them are grown people now, which is insane to see that they're 25 and 24. It's like, oh my goodness, I look up to them. But it's incredible, and they come back. I have one who's turning 18 today. She is a PA on our newest project, and it's great to see them. They come back, and it's wonderful to see the kind of adults that they've turned into. And then I had a little something.
The reason why is because they remember those years with such fondness, that you inspired them to become something. You took them out of their shell, and that's really nice.
It's incredible. And they don't all become actors and actresses. Like this current one, she's in film, behind the scenes, and that's incredible. And some of them become lawyers or doctors, or they went into the military, but something they got out of those classes stuck with them. And so for me, that just brings me joy. That just brings me incredible joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing.
So as you were doing this with the classes, you slowly started easing out of the DJ business.
Yes.
Is that how it happened?
That's kind of what happened.
Okay.
As my daughter got older, as I
Uh-huh.
needed to be around more on the weekends, because her life, just as you know, you have children, as
I
your
do.
children
Yeah.
need you more and more to be around, and as I aged out, it was like, my
Yeah.
interests changed, and I got more into the teaching and more into vocal piano, and then I started working for a piano school, and became a little more adept at teaching piano, and started becoming a NYSMA coach, which is the New York State Music Association.
I think most people who are in this with their children from a young age know about NYSMA and the rigorous work that goes into that.
Yeah.
And so you have to know all of the ins and outs of how to get the kids ready for that.
Exactly. And I was doing it for vocal for a very long time because, of course, my daughter did vocal NYSMA. And then when I started working at the school, I became more adept at it for piano. So that I do a lot of now. And then ever since my daughter, and then I was working with the school district for a while doing their drama program in the middle school. And then I started this bug because we had nowhere to perform. There's nowhere other than schools or the library, and that's hard to get a stage. And I was working at the rec center, and they don't have a real stage for the kids either. And it'd be like, well, can we get a church? Is the library open? Could we get a school? Visualize this, kids. You're kind of going to go up 3 steps. And it's great for imagination, and it's great for visualization, but to not have a place, it was like, we need a stage.
Okay, so this is how long ago now? That
I
you
started thinking about this. Let's see, my daughter was, it all goes by her age. My daughter was going into 5th grade, so what are they, 10, 11? So 17 years ago.
Wow, okay. So you're very busy, obviously, with this. And that's why you need the stage. Because if it's something that you do once a month, you can find a place. Right? Okay, so how did we, because we're talking to Robyn, who is the owner and director and manager of the Sparkle
on Stage Cultural Arts
in Freeport,
Center,
New York. And so we want to know how you ended up getting to that space.
So I started putting it out into the universe because I believe you have to do that. You have to start talking about it. So how
do you just started telling people?
That I was going to open a theater.
Okay.
I'm going to open a theater when my daughter finishes college. And I started saying this when she was 11 years old. When she finishes college, I'm gonna open a theater.
All right, so you had some time there.
I had a little time to get the word out.
Okay.
And she graduated in 2016. And so about 2015, my mom and I started working on papers to open a nonprofit theater. Because in the arts, I felt that nonprofit, we could apply for grants. And get funding. Because how else
and
do
you
open
had
a
no
theater?
idea where this was going to be?
No.
Did you even know it would be in Freeport?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I grew up in Freeport and I wanted it in my community.
In your community, which didn't have this kind of facility.
Right, where nobody, we didn't have something. And I never thought it would be like Radio City Music Hall. I never thought it would be a 500-seat theater. But something where the community could come and where my kids, really it was in my head for my kids, would have a space to perform.
And she means her kids as in her students.
Yes, my students. So we started doing this in 2015 and we got our New York State, not our 501c3, that's federal, but our New York State nonprofit. In 2017, we got all of that together. And then I started putting a board together.
A people.
A people board, yes, because you have to have a board to have a nonprofit.
I see.
In 2018, my mom passed. And I was like, well, now what do I do? I'm not good at all this paperwork stuff. That's not my forte. And all my board came together and said, we're going to do this. We're going to help you, and we're going to make it happen.
And how many people were?
I had a board of 5, but there were 2 in particular people who helped me research and find out how to do this.
Wow. And how
And-
did you meet these people? Were they the parents of children
Yes.
that were in the program?
Well, one is my daughter's best friend's mom. We met in kindergarten, and we've been
Okay.
best friends ever since. And the
Uh-huh.
other were parents of my students that believed in what I believed in, and we
Excellent.
became very friendly.
Uh-huh.
And some I had only known a few years. Some I've had their kids since they're 8, and their kids are now in college. And they believed in it.
And these people aren't necessarily artists like you, but
No, but they all
something-
have some draw to drama, some draw to the arts.
Mhm.
Somehow, some way, their children were involved with me, and they believed in what I believed in, and we clicked on some level that they saw the vision.
All right, so there we go, meant to be again, right?
Meant to be. In Jewish, we say beshert.
Yes.
In Yiddish, we say
Yeah.
beshert. And we all started working on it, and right before COVID hit, no, as COVID hit, we got our 501c3.
Okay.
We put on our first show outside
Where was this?
in the little theater outside next door to the building we actually own now. We did not own the
Okay,
building at that
I-
time. There was
right.
a little church on the Nautical Mile in Freeport. It's an outdoor church, and we called the people that own it. We said, could we put on an outdoor performance? Because it's COVID. We
Right.
can't be inside. We had been renting a little gym that we could all be 6 feet apart. Parents were thrilled. We were rehearsing in this little place, just anything to get the kids out, to do anything. We had little blocks 6 feet apart. We were doing Scrooge. And I said, does anybody want to do this? We'll be outside, we'll have little sparkle scarves, and we'll all be in coats, and we'll serve hot chocolate. And we did it. And we did it. And then I said, okay, well, I guess the shutdown means that every other theater has to shut down so we can catch up. That's got to be what this is. Because how do you get your 501c3 as COVID hits?
Okay, so explain what a 501c3 is.
It's a nonprofit. It's a legal federal nonprofit organization status.
And once you have that, that doesn't mean it comes with the money.
No,
right?
there's
It's
no
just-
money.
So now you have that, then you go and get funding.
We can
Is that-
apply for funding.
Okay.
We can apply for grants. Doesn't mean we get them,
Right.
but it means we can. It means anybody who makes a donation has a tax write-off. It means we can apply for sales tax exemption. It doesn't guarantee anything.
Okay.
It just means that maybe a corporation might be willing to make a donation because it's a tax write-off for them. And I just felt maybe.
Or they support the performing arts and they want to put money into their community and they decide, hey, what better place than Sparkle on Stage, right?
That's the hope.
Okay.
That is the hope
So
and the
then,
goal.
how did you get to your
Okay.
own theater from there?
So,
And this is, by the way, I mean, I just find this really amazing because it's not easy to do this.
No,
right?
none of it was easy.
Yeah,
And a lot of naysayers,
of course.
tons of naysayers.
And why were they saying no?
You
They just,
You can't do that. How are you going to do that?
right.
How are you going to do that? You don't have the money for that.
Mhm.
I said, well, I didn't say I was going to do it alone. I never said I was doing this alone.
Right.
That was the first part of it.
Mhm.
It takes a community. It takes a village, to quote Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
And it does take a village. I grew up in Freeport. I believe in Freeport.
right.
I think it's a very special place.
It
It's
is
a diverse
nice community.
place.
It's very, yeah.
I grew up in South Freeport. Funny
Mhm.
enough, 2 blocks over from where Sparkle currently is.
Okay.
Literally, it's my backyard
Wow.
from where I grew up. So, funny enough, there used to be a Nautical Mile Business Association. And I was talking to the person that ran it at the time.
Mhm.
And they said, we do a pub crawl and we always look for somebody to give some of the money to. We'd like to give it to Sparkle. Because they heard what we did on the mile and they thought it was a cool thing to do. Of course, right after COVID was not the best year for us to be chosen because there was not a lot of money. But I went to the meeting and I said what I had to say, and the owner of the building was there, which he never goes to those meetings. Talk about meant to be.
Right.
And he approached me and he goes, do you know this building? And I said, yeah, of course I do. I grew up around the corner. And he goes, well, I'll meet you down there. I want you to see it. And I'm thinking to myself, we can never afford the rent on the nautical mile.
Yeah.
The rents down there are so high,
Yeah.
and that's insanity that I'm even going to look at this place. But you know what?
Might as well go.
It doesn't hurt to go look.
Right.
Meant to be is meant to be.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Amazing.
And we've been there, we're going into our 5th year.
Yeah.
And now we are trying to buy it
Right.
because the landlord would like to sell the buildings.
Okay.
And he made us an offer, and we are trying to work that out because I
So-
think we belong there.
Anybody listening?
Please make a
Yeah.
donation.
And talk about the events that you put on there, the types of people who come in. You're still doing the classes, and you're doing the voice lessons and the piano.
Yes.
Let's hear a little bit about.
Okay, so this week alone, oh my goodness, you picked a good week. We have a lot happening this week. So we do a lot of original works, which makes me very, very happy, because that's really what we wanted to do, was feature people who may not have that opportunity if it wasn't for our place. First off, we rent out the venue quite a bit.
And the rent is very reasonable.
Extremely reasonable. Like, people keep telling me it shouldn't be as reasonable, but it is.
But you're
But
starting out, and
it's also, that's the point of it.
right.
It's supposed to be reasonable. It's a community center.
Right.
And hopefully that will bring more people to it. So this week alone, we have The Cask of Amontillado,
Right.
which is based on a Edgar Allan Poe's poem,
Right.
set to original music with original lyric. That's Saturday night. Sunday, we have a Holocaust survivor coming to talk about her story, Murray Taub, who I am lucky enough to sit on the Long Island Art Council at Freeport's board with. Wonderful, wonderful woman who has a wonderful story to tell about her and her family. And you know, we're losing our Holocaust survivors,
Yeah.
and so it's rare to have somebody. And in today's world, more than ever, we need to hear the stories. So, and it's a free event. So, you know, if you're around Sunday afternoon, please come. Then Thursday night, we have a high school band called the Panacea. It's their second time coming. They do Latin, they do bossa, they do current pop. They are wonderful, and they are not from the high school. They're just a bunch of kids that put their band together, and they're incredible. Friday night, we have Yacht Rock, which is like Boz Scaggs and that era of music, and it's their first time out on Long Island. And funny enough, they just made a donation to help us buy the building.
Wow.
And how sweet is that, right? Really incredible. And then next Saturday, what do we have next Saturday? We have something else coming up next Saturday. I'm trying to think of what it
you had
is.
Focustra.
We had Focustra, which is your band.
Yeah.
They performed last week.
And
They're
that
an
was our
international
time at
folk
the
orchestra.
theater.
If you've
Yeah.
never heard of them, they are incredible, and they play instruments that, as a musician, I've never heard of a Shruti box. I was so incredibly awesome about that. We have Oz in Concert coming up, which is a multi-generational cast. We have 8-year-olds, we have 60-year-olds, we have high school kids. As a matter of fact, the director is a student director from the high school. She is incredible. They were teasing me because I don't take direction well, apparently. I'm used to being the director. I'm not used to being told what to do. Funny enough.
Well, you know your stuff.
I do,
right?
but
And-
she's great. She's
Okay,
great. So we have
good.
that coming up. We have a magic show in December coming up. Meet Santa, take a picture, and stay for the magic show. That's coming up. So we just have a multitude. We have art showings. We have gallery openings.
You have meditation.
Yeah. Oh, that's coming up too. That's coming up too. That's what's coming up. We have a sound bowl healing session with guided art. We have a family paint night coming up next weekend. That's what I was missing. So we have a multitude
All right.
of events that are good for everybody.
And how could people contact you if they're interested in hosting an event,
You can go to our website,
which is
www.sparkleonstage.org.
.org, sorry.
We're .org,
Or
O-R-G.
they can visit you on the Nautical Mile.
They can at 195 Woodcleft Avenue.
Right.
Come visit us, or you can call us at 516-240-1188. And we are always open to giving you a tour. I suggest you call first in case we're not there. Winter hours are a little shorter than our summer hours. And then, the big prop there, though, is that we do have the best ice cream on the
That's
mile
true.
also.
Yeah.
Sam Scoops features Hershey's ice cream, so, just a little
So
prop
you
in
can
there.
come in, stop for an ice cream, and then take a look at the theater.
Absolutely.
Which is a charming space. And Robyn is a terrific host.
Thank you.
So I highly recommend you check her out, and thank you. Is there anything else that you want to talk to us about?
Goodness, thank you, Wendy. This has been
No,
so
this
much
is great.
fun. I feel like it's whose life is it anyway?
Well, it's really interesting to hear your story, and I just want to also say that if anybody else is interested in coming and talking about their story, please feel free to contact me at wendygarfield.com. My phone number cell is 917-922-2072. You don't have to be a performing artist. I'm looking for all types of people. And this was great.
This was fun.
Yeah.
Come talk to Wendy.
And
she's easy to talk
please
to.
donate money to Sparkle on Stage. So that, what is your goal? When do you?
Our goal is to start our buying the bill. Well, we're in the middle of our campaign now. So, and it's a great time because, tax deduction time is now.
Right.
So anytime, any amount, pennies, 50s, 50 billion, whatever we can get, we'll take.
Okay.
So thank you, and thank you.